What is good, guys? Man from Duality Gaming here, giving you another video, and this is another Duality Gaming news, and this one is seriously focused on the next two consoles. We're going to be talking about the PS4 Neo, we're going to be talking about 2 and the Scorpio, so hold tight and all that shit. Anyway, Sony does not want PC, like, people to jump to PC gamers. And in a key reason for this PS Neo, Sony's decision to launch the PS4 Neo is trying to prevent high-end users from abandoning PlayStation and heading to PC, where the finest graphical performance is available. PlayStation boss Andrew House said, "We did think there was an opportunity to reflect on the traditional life cycle and on 4K technology, and say maybe there's an opportunity within the course of a normal life cycle to offer something else, something a little bit better for a segment of the market that feels that this is important." Now, going on from this, there is that kind of ideal. We saw it a lot towards the end of the last generation with the whole, a lot of people seem to jump to PC gaming more, well, at least it just seemed like it to me, because, you know, the consoles were just seriously lacking behind. Sony and Microsoft didn't want to release their consoles just then, so a lot of people went to PC, and I think that may have hindered the sales of some certain things, and I think this is what the PS4 Neo is trying to do. The only thing is, the people that are playing PS4 and all that, they don't really care for the graphics that much. They don't go, "Oh, I want PS4 for the graphics," because the thing is, you could just go get a PC. The people that are really enthusiastic about graphics will probably go to PC. The ones they need to worry about really is just keeping people with the games, giving people a reason to do it, because at the end of the day, the really big thing that stops changes a console to being a PC is the exclusives, and that's what they need to focus on. Now, obviously, I think this is kind of jumping on the end of the last one, but anyway, going on. He adds, "We've traditionally seen that some of the core audience tends to gravitate back to high-end PCs at some point, because there are these people who want the finest graphical performance." A lot about graphics. I don't know how much the PS4 Neo is actually going to offer, and you know what, in the next one it'll make sense to why I kind of think that, even though it's Microsoft. So yeah, tell me what you think about this. What do you think the PS4 Neo is going to be a significant jump above the PS4? Because to be honest, and I will keep saying this, I don't think there will be. Just because developers will not really want to do that. We've seen what happens when developers are split with the PS3 and the PS4. We don't get the greatest quality. So having these like loads of different sections of consoles, and in my last article as well, it will make more sense. It does get a bit more, what's the word? It limits resources and then makes games more expensive because they have to buy more people, and then it just gets a whole bunch of shit. But tell me what you think about the PS4 Neo, if it's going to be a huge graphical performance. And anyway, moving on from that. The Xbox Scorpio, oh gosh, it's going to be fun, is not going to do anything for you unless you have a 4K TV. Now, Phil Spencer was talking in an interview, I think this was during the E3 time, and this was literally what this happened. Basically, if you don't have a 4K TV, the Xbox Scorpio is not for you, according to Phil Spencer, the head of Microsoft. If you don't know who he is, he's the one that replaced that god-awful man a few years ago. Okay, and then he had an interview with the Eurogamer, and Spencer was asked why consumers should opt for the Xbox One S over the Scorpio. The One S is that new slim one, and it is a bit more powerful than the Xbox One. I have a feeling it may just be literally on par with the PS4. That's why the whole Gears of War thing can happen, maybe. I don't know, they just upgraded it a little bit, you know, clock speeds and like that. And then he asks, "What TV do you have?" And the interviewer replies, "A standard 1080p TV," was the reply. And then he said, "Then you should buy this box," meaning the Xbox One S, "because Scorpio is not going to do anything for you," said Spencer. "Scorpio is designed as a 4K console, and if you don't have a 4K TV, the benefit we've designed for you, you're not going to see it." Clearly you can buy a Scorpio if you want, and when and if you decide to buy a 4K TV television to take advantage of the increased performance, obviously the console will be ready for you. Now, I'll read some more of this in a minute, or I don't know, I don't really plan these very well. And I'll just, going on from that. This is kind of strange, and this is what I was going for in the PlayStation Neo thing, just how much of a graphical performance is it going to be if the Scorpio is not going to benefit anyone? Like when we get better frame rates, like when we get at least 1080p, because trust me, the Xbox One is not exactly a console that can do that. Like we're going to have 60 frames per second, like, or is it just going to be a base game and it just shows a higher resolution? So obviously you need a better clock, you need a better like performing machine to push those extra pixels. So maybe it is literally what the Xbox One could be if the Xbox One could do 4K. Essentially, it'd still be underpowered. I don't know, because the thing is, if they're saying if you don't have a 4K TV, this is not really for you, you should get the Xbox One S. That makes me question two things. Maybe the Xbox One S and the Scorpio is literally on par with each other in terms of, like, if you scale it. So the Scorpio is obviously built for 4K, but in terms of the Xbox One S and Xbox Scorpio, there's not really anything in it if you just have 1080p. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. But he continued, Scorpio is for the person who's got a 4K television, who's really focused on 4K gaming. It's going to be a premier price over what we're selling the Xbox One S for, and we're both selling. Both of them will exist in the market at the same time. Scorpio is for your 4K gamer, and that's what we've designed it for. For those sticking with the 1080p telly, the Xbox One S appears to be more of an aesthetic upgrade, as a slight power advantage. It's so minute that it'd have literally no impact on gaming performance. So okay. That goes into other things with the whole performance thing, because obviously the Gears of War developers were hyping it up, saying it's got a bit more power. So, I don't know, conflicting reports there. Okay, if the Scorpio is not for the people that have 1080p, and it won't benefit them in the fact that it will have a better resolution or a better frame rate, what is the point of even having this console? Like, you can't just segregate the market that much, surely. If it's just for the 4K gamers and nothing else, and it has no benefit for 1080p, then I struggle to feel like, would you really go out if you don't have a 4K TV and go buy this? That's stupid. You'd be spending probably, just because the price is going to be premium, I'm assuming about £500. I can't see them going £800. If they do, that's going to be very interesting. Obviously, I say it mine. Again, I don't know, maybe $6.99. That would be a very interesting one. It's probably the consoles. It's probably the console we should have gotten a couple of years ago, because the ones we got came out of the gate that were quite anemic. So, I don't know. Tell me what you think of that as well. Do you think the Xbox One S is worth it? Because it basically was saying that it's not. Like, that's for the 1080p people, but like the boost in performance is literally nothing. So what is the point? You know what I mean? This is getting, I don't know, in my opinion, this is getting a bit confusing, the whole thing. I'm curious to see a Scorpio. I really doubt it won't do anything for 1080p people. Like, well, we don't get nicer graphics or anything. I don't know. Going on from that, this kind of goes on, and it gives a different side of the story. Basic Gears of War creator isn't sold on the Xbox One Scorpio. Is Microsoft going full Sega? Now, this is what this person is asking, and I'm going to paraphrase it. All these sources will be in the description. I can't be asked reading all of it because this video is almost going on 8 minutes. But speaking to Kotaku, he discussed how schizophrenic the entire strategy seemed to him. Is Microsoft going full Sega 32X and Sega Mega Drive CD right now? Question mark. He said, I think it's weird the way the branding is going. It feels like like the way Mercedes name their cars in the United States. You know, the S-Class, the SOK, the SK. Which one do they pick? And is it like they're trying to turn the Xbox into the PC right now? So that makes less sense in a lot of ways. If that makes sense. I paraphrased that and I added my own little spin to it. And he also says he thought the Scorpio may just be an apology move from Microsoft to make up for what he feels is a less stellar showing from then with the Xbox One, obviously, because the Xbox One being underpowered compared to the PS4, and you know, like Final Fantasy 15, you know, being 800 to 900p, where the PS4 is 900 to 1080p, you know, and the frame rates are usually better, and the whole Kinect thing was kind of just a kick in the nuts. But what he says is, I think it feels like an apology move from them for not making the console as powerful as it should have been, in favor of making the Kinect in box. So obviously, I think as the developer has confirmed, I think this was known already, but Microsoft kind of just shoved the Kinect into it, so they had to do what they had to underpower it and this, that, and the other. I can't work out how it goes. So now they're playing catch up. In a way, you can trace this all the way back to their well-intended E3 from a few years ago. If you remember that, that was fucking hilarious, where they were trying to go fully digital, etc., etc., and the internet kind of backlashed and they backpedaled. Going on from that, he concluded his thoughts on the entire thing. Honestly, he seems to be one of the people who simply aren't sold on the idea. Now, this is very interesting that a developer is not very sold on this, especially someone that pretty much owned this branch developer, only makes Xbox exclusives from my knowledge. Well, the Gears of War people obviously do, because Gears of War's never been anywhere else except PC. I'll get into that. And he's like, look, I have a lot of friends over there, so I won't criticize them unless I was pretty positive about it. If Phil Spencer was here right now, I'll tell him he like pedaled to his face. And he said, you're a dick, but you're right. So, going on from that, he has similar feelings about the PS4 Neo. So basically, he feels this is kind of a bad move, and he's a bit confused about why both of these consoles are coming out. Now, this goes with both of these console articles I did beforehand. That's why I kind of saved it to last, because the whole him criticizing the Scorpio goes into the last one, where the Scorpio is only for 4K. And, you know, the fact that the Xbox One is just underpowered compared to the PS4, that's not arguing. And it does make sense, like, he goes on and he does talk about PC a little bit, you know, the whole fact that PC, basically all the Xbox games are going to PC, there's less of a reason to own a fucking Xbox, and especially if the Scorpio is going to do 4K. If it's at a premium price where a card that can do 4K, and, like, you have a computer that's cheaper than that, then you have no point of getting a Scorpio, so... Oh no, the same thing goes with the Neo. Obviously, the Neo is apparently meant to be weaker than the Scorpio, but we'll go into that. I just find it very interesting that a developer is kind of, he's not sold on it. He's comparing it to Sega. He actually used an analogy that I have been using quite a lot. Obviously, I didn't use Mercedes. I used Apple with them like phones and having like 3 different types. It's the same thing. So yeah, tell me what you think about that down below. Tell me what you think about the whole PS4 Neo. Obviously, I've noticed that they haven't really. They did mention the PS4 Neo is meant for the high-end people, but they're not really saying it won't do anything for you if it's not like you haven't got a 4K TV. So obviously we're going to have to see with that, because there's just not really much we know about it. Same with the Scorpio, but this obviously is a first-party source. It's like it's a primary source because it's coming from the man's mouth himself. And tell me what you think about the Neo, the Scorpio, and what Cliff Bleszinski, which I didn't mention before, he's the creator of Gears of War. Tell me what all you think about that. It's kind of a very console-focused thing. But anyway, guys. Like the video if you liked it, dislike if you didn't like it, subscribe to the channel, it really does help me and the restart. Check out the Facebook and check out the Instagram for not so daily updates. And ultimately, guys, as I always say, have a nice day.